more than 50 years, law enforcement finally believes they have found the man who murdered two teens.
19-year-old Diane Olkwitz and 15-year-old Terry Erdman, the latest cold case cracked using advancements in genetic technology.
She was stabbed 106 times. He walked out the front door, drove to his next delivery, went home to his wife and kids, and did it again 5 years later. For 57 years, his name sat in a police filing cabinet. On a form, filed 1 week after the murder. Nobody ever followed up. A field. Railroad tracks cutting through open ground. A dirt path disappearing into tall grass in the pale light of a summer morning. 4 officials at a single podium. And somewhere in that room, 2 families who had never once met, standing together for the very first time. Welcome to Kairo True Crime Breakdown. Today's case, the cold case of Diane Olkwitz and Terry Lee Erdman. 2 murders, 1 killer, 57 years of silence. Subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Now let's get into it. Menominee Falls is a quiet village in Waukesha County, Wisconsin. About 30,000 people. The kind of place where families put down roots and stay for generations. Diane June Olkwitz was one of those people. She was 19 years old in the autumn of 1966. The second of 6 children. She had graduated from Menominee Falls High School with the class of 1965 and spent the 18 months since working as a secretary at Kenworth Manufacturing Company, a metal stamping plant at N56W13777 West Silver Spring Drive. She had a best friend named Diane Zimmer. The 2 drove home together every single afternoon after work. She had a fiancé named Donald Hieromeyer, stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, finishing Army basic training. When he came home, they were going to get married. That future never happened. The plant employed 25 factory workers whose shifts ended every afternoon at 3:30. Diane stayed behind every day until 4:30, alone in the front office, separated from the factory floor by a hallway and a set of heavy doors. The workers on the production side could not see or hear anything happening on her side of those doors. For 60 minutes every single afternoon, she was completely unreachable. On Thursday, November 3, 1966, someone came through the front entrance of Kenworth Manufacturing between 3:30 and 5 o'clock. The Waukesha County coroner later documented what happened in that front office with clinical precision. 106 stab wounds. A 3.5-inch single-edge blade. At least 30 wounds to the chest, neck, and head. 35 more running in rows down both sides of her back. The attack lasted several minutes. The knife was never recovered. At 5:10 that evening, a factory worker found Diane face down on the floor. Blood covered the walls, the desk, and the carpet around her body. Across town, Diane Zimmer had been waiting for the pickup that never came. She got a ride to Kenworth and found Diane's car still sitting alone in the parking lot. Donald Hieromeyer completed basic training, deployed to Vietnam, and died in combat 2 years later, never knowing who had walked through that front entrance. Menominee Falls police responded within the hour and launched one of the most exhaustive investigations in the department's history. Every business along Silver Spring Drive was canvassed on foot. Delivery records, time cards, and visitor logs were pulled from Kenworth. Employees, former boyfriends, traveling salesmen, repair workers, and known violent offenders across Waukesha County were individually interviewed. Fingerprints were run against every available database. Over the following decades, between 20 and 30 formal suspects would be identified, investigated with DNA samples and fingerprint cards, and eliminated one by one. A detective was kept permanently assigned to the case. In the week immediately after the murder, detectives sent a written questionnaire to every company identified as having made deliveries to Kenworth. Claremont Transfer, a Milwaukee-based trucking company, returned the form completed. They confirmed no delivery had been made to Kenworth on November 3rd. But their most recent delivery inside Kenworth itself had been made on October 31st, Halloween, 3 days before the murder. And on the afternoon of November 3rd, one of their drivers had made a delivery to Inland GM Diesel, the business located directly across the street from Kenworth on Silver Spring Drive. The driver's name was written on that form. He was never interviewed. The form was filed and archived alongside thousands of other pages, and the Olkwitz family began a wait that would stretch across the rest of their lives. 4.5 years later, on the evening of June 23, 1971, 15-year-old Terry Lee Erdman left a friend's house near North 95th Street and West Rio Street on Milwaukee's northwest side and took the shortcut home she had always used, a worn path alongside the Northwestern Road railroad tracks, cutting through open ground behind a strip of stores on West Appleton Avenue. Local teenagers used the route constantly. Terry had walked it dozens of times. She was the youngest child of Duane and Lois Erdman, sister of Daryl and Daniel. She had just finished 9th grade at Samuel Morse Junior High School and was looking forward to starting at James Madison High School in September. She never made it to September. Somewhere on that path, someone came at her. Terry was sexually assaulted and stabbed more than 60 times, her sweater pulled over her head. Her body was found the next morning, face down in a thicket of small trees and tall grass, approximately 200 feet north of the railroad right-of-way behind the old Morway building at the corner of West Appleton Avenue and West Carmen Avenue, coordinates N5900W9950, roughly 800 feet from the Little Menominee River. Milwaukee homicide detectives responding to the scene noted something immediately. Both victims found face down. Both approximately 800 feet from a river. Both killed on a Thursday. Both attacked with a knife in a pattern of extreme overkill. The two crime scenes Saturday, February 8 miles apart. But in 1971, no forensic method existed to formally connect two crime scenes through physical evidence. The county line between Menominee Falls and Milwaukee meant two separate departments worked two separate cases that were never officially linked. The Erdman murder joined the Olkwitz file in storage, becoming the third oldest unsolved homicide in Milwaukee Police Department history. Duane and Lois Erdman began asking the same question the Olkwitz family had been asking since 1966, and neither family knew the other existed. If this case is already getting to you, drop a comment and tell us where you are watching from. Subscribe if cold cases are why you are here. We do not let these go. In October 2021, Menominee Falls Detective Chris Bellows approached the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory about applying forensic investigative genetic genealogy to the Olkwitz evidence. What made this significant was a detail most people never heard. The DNA from the 1966 crime scene had already been uploaded to the Cody's National Database in 2001 and had returned no match in 20 years. The killer had no criminal record anywhere in the country. Traditional database matching could not find him. The effort expanded to include the Milwaukee Police Department Cold Case Unit. In December 2021, a joint submission formally compared the Olkwitz DNA profile against Milwaukee cold case profiles for the first time. The FBI joined through its Wisconsin field office, the first FBI office in the nation to establish a dedicated cold case unit, activated that same year. The comparison returned a match. The same unknown male DNA profile existed at both the Kenworth manufacturing crime scene in 1966 and the Morway field crime scene in 1971. Science had confirmed in a single result what geography and wound patterns had pointed toward for 5 decades. The Wisconsin Department of Justice submitted the profile to Othram, a private forensic genetics laboratory in the Woodlands, Texas. Othram built a complete genetic profile from the decades-old samples. That profile was delivered to the FBI forensic genealogy team, who searched consumer ancestry platforms, 23andMe and Ancestry DNA, and found a distant relative as a partial match. Genealogists constructed a family tree from that partial match using census records, marriage certificates, and death records, working branch by branch over several months until the tree narrowed to a single individual. Detective Bellows made contact with the suspect's living relatives. They cooperated without hesitation. In May 2023, the suspect's son provided a voluntary DNA sample that confirmed the unknown male DNA recovered from Diane Olkwitz's clothing belonged to his father. In July 2023, a court-issued search warrant authorized the exhumation of the suspect's remains from Holy Cross Cemetery in Milwaukee. DNA extracted from those remains was tested against both the 1966 and 1971 crime scene profiles. Match on both. His name was Clarence Marcus Tappendorf. born July 16, 1927. He spent his entire working life driving delivery routes for Claremont Transfer of Milwaukee, routes that ran through Menomonee Falls and the northwest side of Milwaukee every week. He married Joyce Ludwig and they were together for 57 years. They raised 6 children: Mark, Cheryl, Patty Jo, Gary, Keith, and Kim. He attended church, watched his children graduate, became a grandfather, retired, and died on January 6, 2008 at 80 years old. His obituary described a quiet life in one small corner of southeastern Wisconsin. No mention of Diane Olkwitz. No mention of Terry Lee Erdman. He was 39 years old when he killed Diane. 43 when he killed Terry. He had 37 more years after that second murder, 37 years of church, family dinners, grandchildren, and retirement, while 2 families on opposite sides of a county line waited for a name that was sitting in a filing cabinet the whole time. Because while waiting on the Holy Cross Cemetery DNA results, Detective Bellows pulled the original Olkwitz case file and read back through it. He found the Claremont Transfer Questionnaire from November 1966. Tappendorf's name. His delivery to Inland GM Diesel directly across the street from Kenworth on the afternoon of November 3rd. His delivery inside Kenworth itself on October 31st, 3 days before Diane was killed. Between 20 and 30 suspects had been formally investigated and eliminated over 57 years using DNA, hair samples, and fingerprint cards. His name had been sitting on that form since the week after the murder. No interview. No background check. No follow-up of any kind. On Wednesday, October 25, 2023, at Menomonee Falls Village Hall on Pilgrim Road, representatives from 4 agencies stood at one podium. Menomonee Falls Police Chief Mark Waters spoke first. Based on irrefutable physical evidence, it is the official position of the Menomonee Falls Police Department that Clarence Marcus Tappendorf is responsible for the murder of Diane Olkwitz. Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman followed. There is no statute of limitations in regards to a homicide investigation. We will work on it whether it is 5 years, 10 years, or 70 years to bring closure. FBI Special Agent in Charge Michael Hensel stepped forward. 60 years is a lot of time. But we don't forget. Today represents the promise fulfilled. Diane's sister Debbie Cagliari, 9 years old the afternoon Diane never came home, now in her mid-60s, spoke after the conference. It is a huge weight lifted off our shoulders. No more wondering who did it. After 57 years, it is a relief to be able to put this behind us and move forward with our lives. The Erdman family, Duane, Lois, Daryl, and Daniel, were in the room and declined to speak on camera. 2 families from different sides of a county line, brought together by the same man and the same knife across 2.8 miles and 57 years. Both cases were officially designated cleared by exception, closed because the only suspect capable of answering for what he did had been in the ground since 2008. Clarence Tappendorf is buried at Holy Cross Cemetery in Milwaukee. He was never charged. Never confronted. He sat across the street from that building on the afternoon he killed Diane Olkwitz, drove away, and spent the next 42 years surrounded by family, grandchildren, and community, and nobody ever knocked on his door. Detective Bellows was clear at that podium. It is our goal to potentially identify other cases that may be linked to Clarence Tappendorf. The Wisconsin FBI Cold Case Unit, the first of its kind in the nation, has resolved dozens of cases since opening in 2021. Tappendorf's DNA remains on file. Investigators are still working. Whether Diane and Terry were his only victims is a question that has not been answered and may never be fully closed. Debbie Cagliari finally has a name to attach to the worst day of her life. So does the Erdman family. After a combined 109 years, so does the public. If this case stayed with you, leave a comment below and tell us where you are watching from. The full cold case playlist is right above this video. Subscribe if you have not already, and we will see you in the next one.